Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about chapter or strand 7 of the guiding principles for dual language education, support and resources. So I was able to go through this chapter with a contextual lens and looking at how this information applies to different, districts with different needs. And so I'm going to talk about how they outlined their different points in terms of staffing considerations and programmatic considerations. So for staffing considerations, you really want to think about support and resources in terms of, what does a dual language program require in the classroom instruction setting, right? So do you need what kind of teacher background and credentials do you need? What kind of support instruction, paraeducators do you need? Volunteers, that kind of stuff. And then what are the funding requirements around that? What are the staffing considerations when you talk about different teachers within the same grade level and who is teaching within that grade level? The next staffing consideration would be like the supplemental instruction staffing. And that's not necessarily talking about the paraeducators. What I'm focused on is thinking about how the specialists play into this. All right. So band and PE and art, library. How do you support the educators within those roles? What languages are you going to be using? And how is the professional development going in curriculum considerations? How is that going to be rolled out with those folks? You have also, the special education support. You have testing facilitators. There's a range of different staffing considerations when you think about how to support a dual language program while simultaneously making equitable contributions to general education, English only classrooms. The next category that I want to focus on is how you support administrative positions in dual language programs and thinking about, okay, are you going to look for administrators who can speak the partner language like Spanish or Russian or Chinese, right? Are you going to make sure that those folks who don't speak the partner language in your dual language program have immediate access to other staff who can help with situations that arise, either with teachers or students or community members in the partner language? So administrative staffing is definitely a resource that needs to be an emphasis for the success of these programs. Now, support staff would be all of the other employees within the school culture, right? So anything from administrative assistants to maybe you have attendance clerks or crossing guards or custodial staff. Anybody else who works within the district or the building specifically where your dual language program is housed, what kind of access to information about the program do they have? Do they speak the partner language? Everybody needs to be on board and resourced accordingly. Now, the next, I don't know, category I see as fitting alongside of the staffing would be programmatic considerations, right? So how do you adequately resource proper program planning, right? And then planning shouldn't just be up to the point where the program starts, right? There's a maintenance aspect. You have to have constant focus on evaluation and reconsideration about things that are going well and whatever. How do you resource the curriculum adoption and training and the rollout for that curriculum? Again, maybe initially, but also as your program, builds and different curriculum needs change and you have to adopt other curricula as you progress. What kind of materials, equipment, space, classrooms, right? Resource rooms? What are those needs that your school should set in place so that the dual language program has equitable access? What kind of ongoing professional development for dual language programs can you provide that overlap with the general education English program classrooms? And how do you make sure that they are all on the same page in terms of the curriculum planning, while there will be sometimes distinct differences in implementation or maybe testing progress or what have you. So the PD aspect is important so that everybody knows where the program that they're in should be, but also how it compares to the other program in terms of progress and implementation, curriculum adoption planning, um, and what have you. And the last component has to do with the established emphasis on family and community engagement. What does that look like so that there is complete transparency, that family members and community members have opportunities to engage with planning processes, curriculum adoption? Are there committees where there's input opportunities for everybody? And that seems like a pretty stable facet of any school system. But when you talk about a dual language program, there needs to be somebody who is highly trained and aware of the nuances so that they can roll those nuances out to community members so that they can get valuable input to be able to help those programs succeed. Now, the assessment rubric at the end of the chapter it is actually very detailed in terms of these different principles. So when it talks about the support from key stakeholders, you want to look at community members, students, parents, teachers at different levels, different types of teachers, administrative support, state, federal support. And that is determined by the context of the school, right? Is it a big school with 20 elementary schools, or a big district with 20 elementary schools, or is it a district with one elementary, one middle school, one high school? Those needs and support processes vary, right? The second principle has to do with being equitably and adequately funded. Like that's a fundamental process in education that it shows distinct disparities between different communities. So how can funding be, braided or allocated from different sources to be able to support the dual language program so that there's equitable opportunity between the general education program and dual language and vice versa, right? And then you want to make sure that there is a distinct culture of advocacy, right? So dual language programs are to support folks who are learning another language and students specifically from multilingual backgrounds who are in a system that has traditionally prioritized English. So how can you support the program in a way that shows that this is for students who speak English or the partner language, but essentially you want to make sure that you're advocating so that they have the same opportunities for academic advancement along the grade bands in the same regard that people are emphasizing general education English classes. And if you can do that, then you can reflect back on what is working and what isn't, and maybe what additional resources and support are necessary. Thank you.